Pranam and good evening, everyone. And good morning to everyone who's joining us from the US. We're so happy, like I said yesterday, to resume the Dil Se sessions. And today is the second version of the sessions that we started, the seventh season, so to say, of Dil Se. And we have some really interesting personalities who've joined us today. And as we wait for Daji to join us, I thought it'll be nice for a few folks to share their story. And I know Ajay ji is here. Ajay Rao ji is a Kannada film star, and he's an Indian actor. Ajay ji, if you're around, we'd love to hear your experience about heartfulness. Of course, until Daji joins, it'll be lovely to hear from you on when did you start and how has your experience been.
Well, hi, namaste to everybody. All the peoples from AKKA out there in the USA and everyone present here through the online streaming. Not only me, my entire family has been following heartfulness since a long time, especially my brother and sister-in-law. I get very few opportunities to meditate, but since my childhood, I have been practicing meditation, and I must admit that it always brings immense peace and relaxation and a self-motivation to move ahead in my life. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I must confess it's the same. I think, though I've been part of heartfulness for a long time, but it's always difficult to maintain a routine. And I think one of the things Daji emphasized even during the Bhandara was how can we make sure that we meditate at the same time and try to get into a routine and align ourselves with our circadian rhythm. So I hope and pray at least I'm able to do much more of it. And thank you so much for joining us and taking the time to
pleasure. It's a great pleasure.
Share your experience.
Thank you.
It's wonderful having you, and I think it also inspires other people who are as successful as you to see that if you can practice heartfulness, others can do so. So really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Thank you so much.
And from what I hear, we have also others joining us from Karnataka. We have a number of villages who are joining us. So again, I think Daji really appreciates interacting with everyone, and specifically people from the hinterland, the real Bharat as we call it. So it's really wonderful to have everyone joining from there, and I'm sure we'll try and take a few questions as we progress from them as well. Because I think that's also very important. We would like to inspire them to visit Kana at some point, specifically, obviously, the next Bhandara, which is in July, but also try and see how can they practice much more and, forward Daji's mission of, touching every home in the world, not just in India, but globally. And also, I'd like to welcome everyone from the Association of Kannada Kutas of America. They joined us yesterday, and it was, Daji's session was, of course, very enlightening. Pranam, Daji, good evening.
Pranams to everyone here. Thank you. Thank you for joining once again.
Yes, Daji, we were just talking to Ajay Rao ji, and I think he has a question for you. So Ajay ji, please go ahead.
You need to unmute yourself.
Okay. Once again, my sincere and heartful pranams to Guruji. It's a great honor and a privilege to be present here and having an opportunity to ask a question directly to dear Daji. Well, we might all have seen in our earlier mythological films where if some person is in some danger or being a victim of some crime, or in some trouble, and he or she chants the name of God, and God appears in some form to protect his devotee. Recently here in Bangalore, I think many of us might be aware of this incident where a poor girl became an acid victim, a girl who had done nothing wrong in her life and perhaps was the caretaker of her family also. And we also see many such brutal crimes like rapes, murders, robberies, and many such crimes, not only here in our country, but all over the world. My question is, On what account do the good people undergo such kind of sufferings and become victims? Why does something bad happen to the good ones? Is it again karma here, or is there any spiritual self-defense? Thank you.
Ajayji, I have tormented life on the very specific question you have asked me. There are no real answers to such questions. Because my karmas, my destiny, is not just viewed by myself or by gods or God or goddesses. But my destiny is also in the hands of others. Now, we yesterday discussed about samskaras, how my karma can have its karma phalas. Now, let's see one scenario, since you were discussing mythology and especially Lord Rama's life. Could he have any samskars at all to have such a birth? He could not have formed any samskara since this was his first birth as an avatar. So he had no previous karmas that can make him suffer. Right? Now, when sage Vasishtha declared to King Dasharatha that let's have the wedding of these two performed under this auspicious occasion, they are the best match. Their zodiacs, that astrological charts matches like no one's. They will have a happy, long life together. This was the trajectory based on the astrological charts and prediction of sage Vasishtha. Now what happens here, that his life was later on influenced by no less a person than Mother Kaikeyi, who was again influenced by a mere maid or a dasi, Manthara. So Manthara influenced the greed at heart of Mother Kaikeyi that you should ask for the fulfillment of a promise which the king Dasharatha promised you during one of those wars. So it's an opportunity for you to ask, and ask for throning your son instead of throning Rama as a king. And she did not stop just there. She said rest of the time, at least 14 years, he should pass in the forest. I mean, was it not enough that he is dethroned, is to be dethroned and enthroned Bharat? But she went ahead, and so Raja Dashrath, because of his pride, pran jaye par vachan nahi jaye, I may lose my soul, but I will not move away from my promise. He fulfilled that, but having fulfilled that, he lost his life as well. His life came forward. I mean, the death came forward. He would have died much later. But because of this incident, influenced by somebody else, just as we were talking about acid thrown by some ignorant people. So my destiny can also be influenced by somebody. Ajay, for example, let us say you loved a girl whom you love so dearly and you'll die for her. But what happens there? Destiny brought you together. Eye to eye, there was a locking, and your heart also, say, okay, this is my beloved. And she also considers you as beloved. But suppose her parents disagree that he's a film star and let him go. Because film stars also have some level of reputation. Some societies may not appreciate that, see. They all pay their price based on the decisions or the conditioning of the society or the community. So my destiny is not only in my actions and thoughts, my family's actions and thoughts, but some third parties, irrelevant parties also can influence my destiny. Otherwise, how do you justify one man like Hitler killing more than 10 million Jews in a most cruel way? He burnt them alive in millions. So, so it was not in their destiny. And question is again, was God blind? Didn't he see all these things, sufferings? We then start wondering, is there anything like God? Then a lot of people who are on the fringe of developing absolute faith in God, they start saying, oh, how can I trust in God? I love God, I worship God so much. And a girl who could have been raped also perhaps. How can God do such a thing to me? It is heart-wrenching question. And unfortunately, we are passing in a society which is so complex today, extremely complex. I'm more and more worried about my granddaughters, grandchildren, sending them even to the nursery, even though we are living in an ashram. I really worry for our children's welfare. Because everywhere these movies of, I feel ashamed even in talking about such movies that they talk on X-rated movies, and every idiot is watching it. And when people with low-level culture, laborers watching in the farms, for example, even in my ashram, these laborers walking on their bricks, and they will grab a phone, they'll have bricks on their head, and they are watching these movies. And there are 5 guys looking from all sides and watching what they, I say, how could they be so much immersed in educated material? But that was not education. It was only all about sex. And when their appetite is going haywire in this direction, especially sensually, who can be safe? I think going forward, it's only going to get worse. People like you, Ajayji, and there is Anandji also, from, he's an educationalist, as I understand, Ausar Foundation. People who are in key positions can really influence the youth, especially. And we should start a movement against such companies like Reliance. I do honor and respect Reliance for their success in bringing about telephone revolution and offering this thing at such a cheap rate. But at the same time, we are paying a price. For a few hundred rupees, you are getting 20 GB of free watching, which you don't even complete. And people with low level culture, low level of understanding, animalistic attitude, what are they going to watch? Not a mythology movie on Ramayana or Mahabharata. They're going to watch only porn. So can we not come together and somehow take a flag against such telephonic companies and say, please stop circulating such material? They must be having some level of control over it. If China can do it, why not India? China has the lowest rate of watching such things. India is the highest in the world. India is considered to be the most spiritual nation, and yet the highest amount of porn watching is our nation. Is it not a shameful thing?
Yeah, no, that's so true, Daji. I mean, we're all facing that while the internet brings a lot of freedom along with it, I think the responsibility is somehow lacking, where there isn't enough balance where there is access to so much information, yet there is no wisdom to actually differentiate between what is right and wrong. So thank you for sharing that.
Well, I have discussed all this, even with cabinet ministers coming from Delhi.
Yes,
Nothing is happening.
it's a complex subject. No,
They smile. They are such a beautiful creatures God have created. They just smile. And you hate that smile when they smile like that, smile of rejection, that we cannot help you and we are helpless. If such people are helpless, what can we do? I think that's why we need to come together, people of that caliber. Film industry today is the biggest influencer on our society. So I think people like Ajay, educationalists like Anand, and many others whom I am not able to recollect their names, rich people also, instead of throwing money at the feet of many Mahagurus and super gurus, spend it on such items, on such movements. Instead of cleaning the river, let us find ways and means to clean the hearts and minds of people. And that can happen only through yoga. We have to have this movement, not just preventing what is wrong, but bringing in what is good. That's why the very two first step of Ashtanga Yoga are Yama and Niyama. Why Yama? The negative one first. Yama means to destroy, right? Yama in our Hindu belief system, Yama is considered as a lord of death. And why would Sage Patanjali bring in the name like that in the beginning itself of Ashtanga Yoga? Yama, kill them all. But kill what? Kill all that is negative in us. And then when negative is gone, automatically positive will come naturally. That is niyama. But this sensitization from the heart of what is bad and what is good can come only when viveka develops in my heart. Discriminating faculty has to develop in my heart before I can discriminate between right and wrong, between what is good for me, what is bad for me, what is the cause and what is the effect, what is karma and what is karma phala. For example, Ajay had raised a very beautiful question that one girl, innocent girl, a victim of acid, someone threw acid on her. Was it someone's karma or her own karma phala? Is she paying the price for something? Or is she a victim of some mad person? My Viveka says she's a victim of a mad person. So even to find a solution, let us say someone from Karnataka or somewhere, I don't know, he was talking about why do these girls, when one girl was raped badly by some group of people, and no less than a minister was saying that why should she dress like this and come out at such and such an hour of night with such dresses. This is a very foolish argument. I cannot pass the buck and say she was inviting rape. That's a wrong argument. And I'm sorry. I wonder how the people even later on are going to bring him up again as elected personnel in the government. The constituency must remember thoughts and actions expressed via their speech and make sure such elected individuals don't come back again. See?
Absolutely. So Daji, since you've been mentioning Anand Chaturvedi ji, yes, he's here. He's trustee of a 10-year-old nonprofit that's focused on education called the Avsar Foundation, that's based in Bangalore. And thank you, sir, for joining us. And you're doing some incredible inspirational work by providing scholarships to poor girls and children, building many computer labs and, making the youth of the country job ready. And additionally, in all of this, you also find time to volunteer at the Heartfulness Adiz's Leadership Initiative, which is fantastic. So please go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you. Pranam Daji.
Ramananji.
Good evening, brothers and sisters all over the world. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Mine is more of a curiosity than a question, which stems from a beautiful Bandara message of exhausting samskaras. Unknowingly, by the grace of the masters, we have enjoyed amazing fruits because our samskaras were reduced or burned in many years of our spiritual practice. So we know now. But what I'm curious about is what I learned several decades ago during a discourse by a professor of Eastern philosophy. In his exposition, he said, Prarabdha is something which nothing can be done about by any kind of practice. Puja, dhyana, sandhyavana, dana, nothing can even an iota reduce prarabdha. So we learn now from your Bandara message that samskaras can be reduced, diminished, exhausted completely. So the curiosity is, and this professor talked about the example of Lord Rama, Bhagwan Shri Krishna. Even when they took birth, they could not escape prarabdha. One had to go to 14 years of misery in Vanavasa. Bhagwan Shri Krishna born in jail and taken away from mother. So this conversation is very nicely getting ahead with what you started yesterday and today. Thank you, Raji, for giving
Thank you, sir. Thank you. See, prarabdha is what we build through our thoughts, actions, intentions. They all contribute. And all these things, one long time back, I read a book by James Allen on As a Man Thinketh. So I'm going to put it very simply, the essence of book, what he tried to say, that every action has a result, right? And based on the result, whether it is positive or negative, whether it is as per my expectation or against my expectations, I feel either joyful or sad, right? So James mentions that to be happy, I must have a good consequences of my good actions, and actions is a result of good planning, and good planning is a result of my good thoughts, well thought out, laid out plan. So thoughts comes first, actions, and the result, and the impact out of all that. What is before the thoughts? He has not touched that topic. So why does one person constantly have interest in one direction while the other person doesn't have even a bit of interest in that direction? They have some other interest. So what precedes before thoughts is your interest, your intentions. And who builds these intentions and interest? Your samskars. If your samskars are tamasic, your choices will be according to those primary nature of a person. And now another question arises, how is this interwoven? See, in Gujarati, we have this, every person has a vritti. And this vritti is a basic thing. You can classify into three things, Sat, Rajas, and Tamas. And based on this vritti, he indulges in pravritti. And based on this pravritti, he creates his own prarabdha. again, what it comes back to samskaras. That based on numbers of samskars, good or bad, you see, you don't have all the bad samskars nor all good samskars. We are combinations of so many samskars made by myself as well as influenced by my friends, my family members, my community, things that I, allow myself to be influenced by. They all design my destiny. See, if my prarabdha was fixed, nothing can be done. Then you are a slave of your own destiny. Coming back to Lord Rama and Lord Krishna, they did not have any samskaras. There was no predestination. They came with an aim. And while fulfilling that aim, they accepted whatever came on their way. They behaved like ordinary human beings, knowingly well, whenever time arose, they knew who they were. You see, that's the only difference, you see. If, often we say and also expect that I'm worshipping Lord Krishna or Lord Rama, and my life should be going on well. But as we already seen, Lord's life, it was also difficult. And you are expecting Lord Krishna to change your destiny. It is not going to happen. Why? Because Lord Krishna could not change the destiny of Duryodhana, nor of anybody without bringing the destruction. Same thing happened in Lord Rama. He saw everything. He knew what's going to happen next, and yet he underwent the consequences willingly. He knew I'm torturing my dear wife, Mother Sita. Each time, willy-nilly, he had to force her to go through some tests. Those were the needs, requirements of those times. And her reaction was also appropriate. She went through it. But finally, having children, and when Lord himself was questioning, how did you get these two boys? He had gone, and then she could not take it. She said, enough is enough. And she committed a suicide, I would say. She prayed to Mother Earth, Bhumata, and Bhumata opened up and said, now please engulf me, and she went. I mean, this is a mythological story, but to put it in short, she got fed up. Enough. I cannot tolerate this anymore. And same thing happened to, as a reaction to Lord Rama, he too felt so bad, so guilty about the whole thing. In his old age, he went to Saryu River. He took a Jal Samadhi. If Anand or Ajay takes a Jal Samadhi today in Kaveri River, how will the news come out? It's a suicide. So there is a tragic end to that life also. They could not see themselves behaving like that. See? This is no disrespect to Lord Rama. My heart cries out for his state of being, his helplessness, though he was the Lord. Same thing with Lord Krishna. Because the same Atman with similar potency is present in other human beings. Duryodhana could oppose him. You see, many people, they ask me, Daji, if pranahuti, if meditation is so good, why don't you remove all sanskar in one go and change my destiny? Very practical question, but The wisdom says the change that one expects in one's own life, one must welcome it with smile and change the lifestyle in order to accommodate that change. But can I force anyone to change and make a saint out of that person? By force, you cannot. It is only through love, love from both sides. You see. I love to transform myself and become divine in nature. Though my innermost nature is divine, but because of these layers of samskars, I am masking my divinity. And these layers are acting so funnily at times that my true nature remains clouded. And if you ask Lord Krishna, please change this for me, it's not going to happen. Because your request, your plead, your prayer is not genuine enough. Even if he changes you for one moment and say, okay, you will not smoke for 2 days. Okay, fine. On third day, you lit up all the cigarettes that you had missed, all the liquor bottles that you didn't touch. To me, changing any person from inside is like a forceful change, akin to rape. What is rape? Rape is something where your passion is so overpowering that you suppress the other person's heart. This against their willingness or against their interest. You are taking advantage of the other person for your pleasure. That is rape. And in order to make somebody a saint, you use all the powers. Say, Lord Krishna, you are God, you can change me. No, he is not going to bring about this spiritual rape and make us transform. I have to invite this change by cultivating purity in myself first and make sure this change remains intact within me. And I must lead a lifestyle that matches that new product. For example, if you have the ability of converting water into ice, okay, you converted water into ice. But then if you leave it in the open, it will melt again and become same old thing. And whenever we get exposed to such environment, what was crystallized as spirituality in me temporarily, now will melt away again when it finds its own conducive environment. So it's very complex. So the need to remain focused and being alert all the time, see. Protecting our own vrittis and cultivating new levels of vrittis that can go on refining us. That's why at bedtime, in heartfulness way, we recommend that offer prayers to God 2-3 times. You repeat this prayer. Try to understand the meaning of the prayer. Apologize to God. God, please forgive me for the wrong things I have done unknowingly. And please help me so that I don't repeat them again.
Thank you, Daji. Thank you, Mr. Chaturvedi, for joining us. I hope you continue to do all your inspirational work. Thank you so much for joining us. We also have a number of people, Daji, who joined us from Oracle. So there's Chandra Pirni, who's joined us, and he has a question for you.
Thank you, Pragya. Namaste, Daji. I'm very happy to talk to you. Firstly, like I would like to thank for all the good work that Heartfulness is doing and for your excellent leadership to make the world a better place. And I salute all the volunteers like who are like a heart of the organization, like without which it's not at all possible. And I have one quick question, Dachi. So firstly, I will also like to thank Raghu Kulakurti who introduced me to this Heartfulness, and Parthasarathi Patel who gets provides us an opportunity in our organization to interact with like so many folks from Heartfulness. And really it was very learning experience to learn from all the experienced folks. And coming to question, Daji, like, so anyone like who is practicing the Heartfulness meditation, like, or any meditation, the samskaras are improved. And I'll take the question which is connected to your earlier example, Pandavas and Kauravas, right? Like, so though we have Pandavas like who followed the Dharma, they have to face like a lot of problems. Similarly, in these days as well. So whoever is meditating, definitely they are more balanced. But like if the other people are not in the same pace, they are trying to bulldoze like or like affect the people, and we cannot definitely reach to their level. That's what we have been observing in the society, be it in the individuals like or like coming to the nations, right? Like say be it in the form of the wars that is happening between countries or like which is going to happen. So is there anything I request, like is there anything which Heartfulness can do and spiritually like we can try to balance and make this world a better place, and we can avoid like all these, because like we are also affected, though we are not directly part of that war, like we are also facing that consequences and we have to face that consequences, right? Like, so is there anything which you are planning to do, Daji? Like this is one request, like which rather than a question which I wanted to pose to you. Thank you very much, Daji.
Dear brother Chandra, thank you. This is an eternal question. Good versus bad. Evil versus Devas. Devas versus Danavas. And all throughout, Devas have suffered. Only their victories towards the end. All the stories we read, it's like that. Now, when I was giving the example of Lord Krishna, that he could not change, he brought about the war. In our day-to-day life, I too, in my company or in my business or in my family, cannot forcibly bring about change. If Lord cannot do it, no, for sure, you cannot do it either. The change that we all are looking for, changing the other person from inside out and making that person a better person. But I have the ability, I have some level of innate guidance that comes from within, that I can change myself. Are you married, Chandra?
Please go ahead and answer.
Are you married?
Yes, Daji, I'm unable to mute myself. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You are married. Okay, good. Are you able to change her views, or she is able to change your views all the time?
No, Daji, like it's only the mutual respect like which will be followed, and sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't.
So that's what you see. Now, when our loved ones also, I mean, we have failed to influence them as per our desire. Right, wrong doesn't matter. But the change cannot be forced. Moment you force a change, there is a war, discord, and you lose peace of mind. Same thing in office environment. So as a meditator, as a good human being, you know, they say the carbon footprints and the environment, they're closely related. Likewise, the spiritual environment around me is also depending upon our own vibrations. See, when you have done good meditation and you are so peaceful within yourself, your colleagues will notice it and say, oh, Chandra, you are in good state today. What is up to you? What are you doing? And likewise, they get influenced to a certain extent. Of course, there will always be a thought classes. They're not going to end. But as we meditate more and more, we are able to withstand the blows from outside. The disagreement that arises within the family, within the work environment, you are able to understand it wisely. And since you are meditating well, you will develop correct thinking. And the problems will not escalate. Whatever will be the problem, you will be able to diffuse it when time comes. So there are many, many benefits of meditating. I may not change the world, but I can diffuse many situations. And there will be many situations I'll remain helpless, witness to what is going on outside. At that time, despite of doing all kinds of things, when I cannot change anything, then we have to invoke gods and pray to them, my Lord, I did my best. Now it's up to you.
Thank you, Daji.
Thanks, Daji.
We also have, as I was mentioning, Raji, some villages joining in. So we have Kember Laga Nahali village, which is about 40 kilometers from Bangalore. And there are approximately 50 members who are practicing heartfulness meditation. And, they say they were also in Kana Shantivanam. And, around 10 villages have visited Kana over the last few months. And they have a question for you, Daji, and they wanted to ask you that, what is your advice to them on how they can spread heartfulness in a far more effective way in villages?
I have always believed that you can spread whatever you want. I will bring in some business aspect, If you have developed a good product that can increase, for example, the mangoes in your farms, the size and the numbers of mangoes and the flavor, the product that you have used, the fertilizer that you have used is a proof. When you count the numbers of mangoes, or let us say if you are cultivating rice paddy and you use certain fertilizer, and if your crop doubles up, that means the fertilizer was very good. In Sahaj Marg, with meditation, we are the fertilizers and we are the products. And we are the qualities. So we have to prove it through our lives. Not by counting how many people I have introduced, how many people I have brought to spiritual path. No. How I have been able to change my life, how I have been able to turn around and become a very spiritual person. And our emphasis in heartfulness is not just becoming spiritual. Our emphasis is balancing both lives, our bhautik jivan as well as spiritual life. We need to balance them, integrate them, that even when I'm doing my bhautik duties, for example, going to office, doing my business or looking after my home, while doing all these things, material things, it must have the undercurrents of spirituality. It must have the fragrance of spirituality. Otherwise, spiritual practice is of no use. I meditate in the morning and next thing I do, I shout at my wife and say, hey, you didn't bring my hot tea in the morning. What is the point of meditating? or you go to the office and start shouting on people. No, that you are undermining the whole thing, and actually you are destroying your own spiritual state. Might as well don't meditate. So meditation has to impact my life from inside out. That half hour of meditation must extend as long as we can during daytime. And if possible, 24/7. All the time. Not that you have closed your eyes, but as I was describing yesterday, from Turiya, we enter into a state of Turiya Tit. You are always in that relaxed state of being, which is a Turiya Tit state. And it is possible through this heartfulness way of meditation, aided by Pranahuti. It becomes very simple. Only thing you need is, do you really, really want it? Then it will come. If you can comprehend it, then my Lord, I would like to have this particular state. Before you even finish the sentence, it will descend in your heart.
Is it really that simple, Daji?
Yes.
Okay.
You open your heart and pray to Lord that, Lord, I need to have this particular state which I am longing for. It will immediately come, descend.
Sure. Thank you. Anuradha ji, you have your hand raised. Would you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
Namaskar.
Pranam, Master. I'm Anuradha Ramesh from Chennai. I'm the first BSc in my family. During this lockdown period, I have joined in this mission.
Welcome.
My question is, you have always talked about character formation. My question is, my doubt is, character formation the result of our practice, or do we have to do anything special for it?
What is formation?
Character formation. You have always talked about character formation, no?
Yes, yes.
And another question is related to our talk only. You have talked about James Allen as a man thinketh. Our character is designed by our karma, no? But we can change our destiny also. We can design our destiny also. But
Correct.
my doubt is how to identify the boundary between the karma and our ability to change our character.
This is a very beautiful, beautiful question. Very dear to our great Grandmaster, Pujya Lalaji Maharaj. He gave a very great importance to character formation. See, if a man doesn't have a character, and even if he has risen to very high spiritual level, Lalaji says, take it for granted, he did not even have the air of spirituality as yet. He may think that he has reached very high level, but he has not breathed even a bit of spirituality if the character is at a miss. And what is the character? Character, according to our tradition, is very specific, that not to abuse your resources. It is a generalized thing. See? Now, that has also to do with, for example, if I need to drink water, or somebody gives me some food to eat. Just because I like to eat, should I hog it beyond my capacity until I vomit? So this goes against resources. If I don't have money and I keep on floundering it from borrowed money, is it a good character? No. I have some resources from within myself. How should I invest my energies? The time. Time is the most precious thing. Lord Krishna in Gita said, Kalosmi, meaning I am time. A person who uses his time wisely has respected the Lord. He has used resources named Lord Krishna wisely, the time. Person who cannot use this resource wisely does not have a good character. It has nothing to do with opposite sex. It can also become part of the opposite sex. If you are going beyond your resources and your Lakshman Rekha, as we talked about yesterday, one must know one's limits. One must know what is my Lakshman Rekha. That is also a matter of character. In Vedas or Upanishads, I'm not able to quote exact sloka, but it is said a woman having relationship with more than 2 or 3 persons is immoral. Now, when you talk of this, why our Shastras say more than 1, more than 2 or 3? Because there is a possibility that the woman after marriage may lose a husband. And she might end up having a relationship with another person. Should she be considered as a sinner? No. So they left a provision. But flirting with more than 5, I think there is also a shastra of, the limits, the Lakshman Rekhas one can have in life. But the character thing which our masters have been talking about, how to utilize your resources masterfully, is a man of character. One who knows this is a man of character. One who has no idea where to put a limit to anything in life is a person without character. And how do I know this? When I close my eyes, instead of meditating for 1 hour, I go on and on sitting like Prime Minister Modi's, sitting in that cave for 8 hours. That is also not a wiser use of your resources. If I can achieve something within half hour of my meditation, it's effective meditation. I am utilizing my resources smartly, carefully. More than an hour, it is an abuse. Something that you're going to get in a certain time, you're not going to get it just because you meditated for 3 hours or 4 hours. No. But I can remain meditative with my open eyes. That's a different story altogether. So character to us is using your resources wisely. Now, what was your other question?
Boundary for destiny. Destiny.
And?
Boundary. What is the boundary so that we can change the destiny?
Oh, where we can change our destiny. What is the limit to it? Everything. You can make everything topsy-turvy and become totally divine. Divine is our nature, actually. What is interfering is the impurities and complexities that we have created. So as the samskars become lesser and lesser, you are able to change your destiny and become divine in nature. Again, coming back to your original state. But, I leave you with a thought to consider that, when we left from the source, and we are at this moment where we are at the moment, right? And if we return back to the source, the way we came out, the same potency of the soul descended with certain potency. And if the soul also returns back with the same potency, what is the fun in it? It's like you give your daughter or son, better do this business. I give you 5 lakhs or 5 crores. And after 50 years, he comes back to you or she comes back to you and says, Mommy, here is your money, 5 crores. What did you do, better? I kept it nicely. Then you will laugh at foolishness of your child, that why did you do? I gave you 5 crores so that you can make 500 crores. I think similar is the thing. If soul was created with certain potency, and if we return back with the same potency, God is going to get very disappointed. What is wrong with you fools? Anyway, this is a very interesting topic. We'll leave it for future. Or you can read some of our literature. You'll enjoy this. But this is purely theoretical. Only through practice we can increase the potency. Our Shastras believe that soul is immutable, indestructible. It cannot change. It is the purest. And there is a sloka that Nainam Chindanti Sastrani, Nainam Dehati Pavaka, Nachedam Kledayantyapo, Naso Saiti Maruta. These are all qualities of the soul. More interesting is that immutability, eternity, and absolute purity of the soul. The argument arises, can you add anything to this ultimate purity? If it is absolutely pure, what is needed to make it further pure? People will laugh at it, but it is possible. Many people also say that it is indivisible, but there is a possibility of divisibility. If God, in its highest essence, as one entity, could multiply himself in billions and trillions and zillions of souls, why not one single soul into many souls? Because we are also part of that. And there lies some answers, some hints in how we can increase the potency of the souls. I think we are nearing the time of our 1 hour session. These talks are very fascinating. Such thoughts are quite fascinating. And every spiritual seeker is looking for some answer that if God created this world and all of us, why did he create? What is the purpose of this creation if we are to return back? This morning we had satsang at 7:30 in the morning. Being Sunday, we have Sunday satsang every 7:30 in the morning in Kanha. Of course, worldwide also, locally at 7:30 they meditate. And some thought arose in my heart, which I shared. It was about how water flows and ultimately reaches out the oceans. It's a dhara. Dhara flowing on dhara. Dhara means bhumi. It's a beautiful Sanskrit here, you see. Dhara flowing on dhara. It's going in one direction. Faith also means when you see a flowing water, faith says there must be some big ocean holding all these waters. There must be an ocean, though you have never seen it. But since this water is flowing in some direction, there must be a big reservoir of it. That is all about faith. But what interesting thought came to me, that since this dhara is moving from the source to the ocean, now we have to move back to the source, not to the ocean. You change the word from dhara, what does it become? Radha. And that's why the name of Radha. One who is going back to the source, to the Lord, Lord Krishna. So we all have to ultimately return back to the source with the sentiments and attitude of Radha. Anything less than that will never do it. It's not possible to merge with the source. My quality of the soul must match the qualities of the source. Otherwise, it will be rejected. Oil cannot mix with water. You know, Kabir Sahib said, describing the final state, he was a genius poet and also a very spiritually elevated personality. His descriptions were very apt. He said, बूंद का समंदर में मिल जाना, it's merger. Raindrops falling in the ocean, becoming one with the ocean. How can the bund now describe how the ocean is? It has become the ocean. Bund is gone. Drop is gone. But we unfortunately are like oil drops, you know, floating on the oceans, touching the ocean, yet not merging. Our nature, our prakriti has not transmuted into that original thing we came with. And only thing that is interfering is these sanskars. That's why our method says, let us remove our complexities and impurities so that we can become simpler and purer. This is the only purpose of our evening Antakaran Suddhi process of cleaning. Okay. So I wish you all very well and thank you for joining us. I would start the meditation now. We can all start meditation. And I request Pragya to terminate the sitting after half an hour. So I'll
do that, Ji.
be sitting at my end. Okay.
Thank you, Daji. Thank you so much.
Please start meditation.
That's all. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this weekend. I know Daji's left us with many fascinating concepts, especially the one with the last question around, how do we go back to the source and imbibe more and more qualities of what we learn about what Radha was like, and why are we here, what is our existence. And as he said, if we have to go back to the source, then what is it that we can add to our lives? So a bunch of things for us to discuss and think through, and I think I'm going to be spending the week doing that. So thank you again for asking so many insightful questions and making the time to be here. We will shortly be announcing the next set of Dil Se sessions as well, so please keep a lookout for that. Until then, please stay safe and please keep meditating. And thank you again for joining us. Have a lovely week ahead. All the best. Bye-bye.